There we are, and we are live. Hello, everyone. As always, I am Chris Ritzik. I'm joined by Irish Tommy. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Looking forward to this new show of ours.
Yes.
I know a lot of people get fed up hearing about transfers, players in, players out, but I love all that transfer rumor
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing this.
Oh, I am too. So as many of you may know, obviously I always joke about this kind of stuff, but no one is in the chat room yet, so kind of talking to empty space at the moment. But for future viewers, as many of you know, Irish Tommy and I do the post-match live streams. But seeing as it is now the summer transfer window, we are now proud to present the new our temporary show, so to speak, Trading Irons, which is going to be a weekly show where it's just us discussing the transfer rumors, the ins and the outs of the club, as well as it'll be like I believe I mentioned it. It'll be once a week, typically about Friday 6 p.m. Unless there is an imminent signing or an imminent departure where we could have kind of an emergency stream, so to speak. But for this initial first one, we just thought we'd get off the grounds, start with some of the rumors of the ins and outs as we begin the crazy January transfer window. Anything you'd like to add to that, mate?
No, I think you covered pretty much everything. Evening, Neil.
Yes.
Neil is
Hello,
up nice
Neil.
and early. Hope he's got a nice, very large mug of coffee to get himself ready for this show. And just for people, in the live chat, or if you're watching this back later on, if you're in the live chat, just let us know what you think of these transfer rumors. If you're watching it back later on, leave some comments. Let us know what you think about these players that we're talking about, because as much as me and Chris enjoy chatting among ourselves here about comings and goings, we also really like to hear what you guys think about it as well.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, the comments after the fact will help us too, because as you'll come to see, I'm keeping track of this window because we always talk about how many players we seem to be linked with coming into the club. This window, I'm actually going to be keeping track actually in an Excel sheet, and with the pure number of players we're linked with, we're not going to know probably half of them. Like if they're playing in a small French side in League One or League Two, so stuff like that will help us in the comments. Just if you know anything about the a certain player we touch on, some insight would be good for us.
Yeah, because it can be hard to keep up because it's kind of silly season really when it comes to
Yes.
the transfer window, especially the summer one. Um, players just get thrown out left, right, and centre. The vast majority of whom will never sign for West Ham, either because for various reasons, mostly because we're actually not interested in signing them and are not trying to sign them. But the newspapers and um, people online on social media as well need something to talk about, so they just try to put two and two together, come up with five, and then there's just nothing in a lot of them really.
Yeah, exactly. So with that kind of being said, I kind of want to start this show with it being obviously the early days. I want to get your kind of opinion on what positions need addressed most, whether it be the players coming, the players going, either or.
Um, Funnily enough, Pellegrini had that summer. We brought in like 10 players or something. Um, I don't think we need to go down that road this summer. I don't think we actually need very many players. Um, Obviously, look, we've been talking, all of us, all season about the fullback positions. They're
Yes.
absolutely a huge priority. We've got to get good fullbacks. Fredericks and Cresswell just aren't cutting it anymore, and we cannot go into next season with those two as the first choice fullbacks. So that's kind of the elephant in the room for me. Now, earlier in the season, I would have said we have to get two fullbacks. We need first team players on both sides of the pitch. I've changed my view on that a bit. The first reason was when Ngakia came in and looked really good, and I was thinking to myself, geez, we've got Ngakia now who's playing really well. It looks very promising, and we've got Ben Johnson who's just coming back from injury, who's very talented and promising. So I figured, right side we're kind of good. I still feel that way, even though we've lost Ngakia, because as you know, Chris, as I've been saying for quite a while to you, I actually rated Johnson more highly than Ngakia anyway. And I think that was the general feeling at the club, among the academy staff and the first team coaches and the manager, was that Johnson's a better player and certainly a better defender than Ngakia. So I think if we went into next season giving Ben Johnson the opportunity to nail down that position for himself with Fredericks as a backup, or we get rid of Fredericks and bring someone else in as a possible backup, or to contend with Johnson for the spot, someone cheap and cheerful, as it were. I'll be fine with that. I really like Johnson a hell of a lot. I think I would be confident that he could be a very good right back for us next season. So
Yeah.
that kind of solves that side for me. I'm not worried about the right back spot anymore. The left back spot is a different story. We essentially do not have a left back that we can roll with next season. Cresswell is completely over the hill.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Masuaku, to me, has never been a left back. To me, Masuaku has always looked like he could potentially be a wing back on the left or a left midfielder. But I've never considered Masuaku to be a left back because he can't defend. And he's even said it. He's even said himself, I cannot defend. I'm not a good defender. So we are desperately in need of a left back, and that would be my priority position, frankly. So that's the number one spot for me, is that left back spot. We have to have a new left back going into next season for the opening game. Another position that has been problematic is left midfield. Now, Fornals has been playing there and he's been doing okay, but he's not a winger, and it shows. He works very hard and does his best, and he does okay. He helps out defensively. He does all right. But it really takes away from his game going forward, because he just doesn't know how to attack as a winger. It's not his natural game. He wants to come inside. So, again, that was a position I was thinking we need to really invest in. But, we've got Grady Diangana back now. And, people have been talking about Ben Rama, right? So you say, oh, buy Ben Rama, play him in left midfield. Is Ben Rama, going by what we've seen in the championship this season, has Ben Rama looked particularly head and shoulders above Diangana? No. Diangana has been right up there in the championship, among the very best players in the championship this season. He's done an absolutely brilliant job for West Brom out on that left wing. He's been sensational at times. And he's our own. He costs us nothing. He's already in the team. He's one of our own. He came through the academy. So I'd really like to see Diangana, just like Ben Johnson, given the chance to nail down that position next season. And again, I'd be quite confident that he'd have a very good season for us out there. So that's another position where I'm thinking, okay, we don't really need to spend money out there. I'd love to see two academy players like them given the chance. And I think they'll both take it. So the other position after that is the attacking midfield position, where Mark Noble is currently playing. Now, obviously, we know David Moyes' number one target is Eze from QPR. There's no secret there. And were we to bring him in, I'd be very happy with that. He's a very talented, very skillful, exciting 21-year-old, who presumably will only improve. So if he comes in, that's fine. So, if honest, no word of a lie, if we were, as regards first team players, if we were only to sign a left back and an attacking midfielder, let's say, I'll just throw names out. Let's say we took Anthony Robinson and we took Eze. Um, and Moyes said, okay, that's the two big signings. The rest of it is just comings and goings. We're going to need a striker because Yeti's probably gone. So we need to bring in a striker who can back up Haller and Antonio. So, okay, fine. We're that's normal ins and outs of a squad. But as for first team players, if we just signed, because we're not going to have a huge amount of money, right? We're not spending 100 million. We're not even probably going to spend half that, maybe, depending on sales. But if we were to get in a first team left back and a first team attacking midfielder, and he said, okay, we're going with Diangana and we're going with Johnson. The rest of the team, attacking wise, I'm quite happy with. Then I wouldn't be too upset with that, to be completely honest, Chris.
Yeah, and for the most part, I agree with you. I believe that left back is the prime position that we need to address most. It sounds like from reports from X and from the various news outlets, it seems like Masuaku, if given the right offer comes in for him, he will be gone. Even same with Cresswell. There's rumors that Fredericks might be going to Southampton. But if we were to bring in a first team left back, I'd be more than fine with Cresswell's coverage. I'm okay with Fredericks' coverage for Johnson. For me, though, the biggest thing that we need, in my opinion, is just a clean out of the deadwood players, the Lanzinis, the Andersons, even to an extent Balbuena. Just because, obviously, we know from all the reports that we have to sell players before we can really buy due to budget constraints, supposedly. We just need those players gone, and then when those players are gone, we can start focusing in on young players. We can kind of change the mentality like Moyes has supposedly been wanting to do. So to a degree, I think that once those kind of deadwood players are gone, what we really just need is the coverage. I mean, relatively cheaper players, younger players, who can play in day in and day out, but for the most part are going to be riding the bench. I mean, that's my big key, just because West Ham, we always know, has injury problems. And so once those kind of start popping up, I mean, we're going to need to have the players to suffice to be able to stay in the fight. And to play devil's advocate a little bit, I'm very excited about Grady Diangana coming back, but there are injury concerns with him. And so that, to a degree, I'm a little worried about. But if worst case scenario, I mean, Fornals has done, like you said, a decent job out on the left. So if he were to get injured, we have a degree of coverage there. So for me, it's left back and just coverage players, rotation players.
Yeah, I mean, look, it comes down to which players the manager likes and doesn't like within the squad. So, and don't forget, Snodgrass will still be with us, who can play on the left wing as well. He'll be back from injury. So Snoddy can fill in there. Snoddy can fill in a right midfield as well, so he can do a job. And we all know how much I love Snoddy. So, okay, he's not the greatest quality player, but he gets slated too much, in my opinion. He's not as bad a player as some of our fans make him out to be either, by the way. You know, he's always done a job when he's been asked to. So I love Snoddy. So he'll still be around. And as I say, Fornals can go out to the left if and when he's needed. So yeah, again, Balbuena, I quite like. I don't have a problem with Balbuena, but by all accounts, Moyes isn't a fan. So he might decide, So Moyes might decide to move him on. I don't care. You know, Balbuena isn't a hill I'm willing to die on. So, you know, if he wants to ship out Balbuena, fine. If Balbuena stays, I'm fine with that too. I don't think he's a poor player, Balbuena. I think, again, as cover, he can come in and do a job. But look, if a good offer comes in for him and David Moyes feels like that money will help him to get someone he really wants, then fair enough. You know, I won't second guess the manager on that. Well, like I say, any of the bench players, really, I'm not that pushed if they're moved on. certainly Anderson, I think needs to go.
Yeah,
He
and
is absolutely dead wood at this point.
club is desperate to get him out. So yeah, it seems like
Yeah,
there's a high likelihood that we've seen him play his last game in Claret and Blue.
yeah. I mean, look, there are certain players that are glaring that you feel like maybe Moyes would love to get offers for them, which would be Anderson, Lanzini, Balbuena. Um, who else do I have in my head? Ajeti, he'd like to move him on. Um, Wilshere, I'm sure he'd like to move Wilshere on. Um, the problem is getting bids. No, I think Ajeti will go. I think we will get bids for Ajeti. I'm really happy actually that this season-long loan deal to Celtic fell through. I just couldn't understand that deal at
Yeah,
all. I mean, this deal apparently to Celtic was that they'd taken for a season that was like a £5 million option to buy.
it was an obligation to buy. And the way that it was being described is it was a low level of matches. Like if he played 5 times for Celtic in total throughout the season, then they had to buy him for 5 million.
Yeah,
So
but I kind of that makes no sense to me.
no business
Why
sense
would
at all.
we loan him out for a season and then sell him for 5 million? Surely we can get 5 million for a Jetty now.
Minimum. I think we brought him in
Just
for.
yeah, but I mean the point is that we're going to sell him for 5 million at the end of the season after having him on loan for the season. What's the
Yeah,
point of having him on loan somewhere for a season and then getting 5 million for him? You know, if it was really good money and we were pulling Celtic's pants down, then I could say, yeah, okay, give them on loan for a season, then we'll fleece them at the end of next season. But it's 5 million. We'll get that for him now. You don't need to loan him for a season to get 5 million for a Jetty. Just take the 5 million now. I guarantee you we'll sell him. The clubs are going to come in for a Jetty. There's no question about it. We may even get a little bit more than that. Well, they've kind of played their hand now because everyone who comes in now is going to say 5 million. So,
yeah. We
so
kind of extended too early in saying that we'd be fine with taking 5 million. So now,
yeah, exactly.
if
Because
we're
one of the,
laid out that is our evaluation of him, why are teams
yeah,
going to come and say, "Oh, we'll give you 8 million now if you," but you only evaluate him at 5 million? So it just doesn't make much business sense. So again, typical West Ham move.
yeah. I mean, like I say, they overplayed their hand. It was ridiculous, really. I just don't understand it at all. I don't know who sanctioned it or who thought. I mean, was there no one in the room who said, "Lads, um, we can get that 5 million for him now. Why would you loan him out for a season and then
Yeah,
get 5 million for him? If you keep your mouth shut and don't talk about 5 million, there could be 4 or 5 clubs that would like to sign a Jetty, which there probably will be, and that could raise his price a little bit. You might end up getting 7 for him. You know, it's like you say, Chris. It's just morons running our club. It just the whole thing makes no sense whatsoever. But as regards the other players, the likes of Lanzini. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't be heartbroken if Lanzini stayed. Uh, I'm completely done with Anderson. No, I haven't been impressed with Lanzini either, but I haven't quite given up on Lanzini the way I have with Anderson. So if we ended up not selling Lanzini, I wouldn't be heartbroken, to be completely honest. But look, again, if the right money bid comes in, I'm sure we'll let him go. Anderson, we might struggle to sell. You know, it's hard to see who's going to pay the kind of money that we'd be looking to get back on our investment to take
and
Anderson.
that's the big question mark with a lot of these players, like the likes of Anderson. With such a monumental fee bringing him into the club, what is our evaluation of him now that we'd be willing to sell him at? Because if I'm a team looking at buying Anderson, I'm not bidding more than 20 million. I mean, he just hasn't proved himself. And at which point West Ham are going to try and knock it up, trying to get as much back on their investment as they can. But I feel we run the risk of having him for another season on such high wages.
Well, we do. The risk is that we can't sell players. I mean, if someone come in with 20 million for Anderson, that would just be a massive loss. We have to try and get 25 if we can. If we got 25, we could probably say, okay, we can cut our losses at 25. But 20 would be a very low fee for Anderson.
Yeah.
And it would be a disaster if we had to sell him for that. That's if anyone even comes in and offers 20 million for him. We don't even know if there's any suitors.
Yeah. So
and the other one, sorry, was Wilshere. Just briefly, we're in the same boat with Wilshere. Look, he has 1 year left on his contract.
He's on massive weight.
He's on big money, so that's the problem. Like, we could let Wilshere go very cheaply, but the team that wants to sign him are going to have to be willing to give him a lot of money, and I just don't see who's going to do it, because Jack just won't agree terms with any team where he's going to be going and earning a lot less money. He'll just say, no, I'm okay here, thanks. Got 1 more year here. I'll pick up my paycheck. I'll do the training. I'll sit on the bench. If I don't get much game time, so be it. But I'm not going there to earn half as much. So,
yeah.
We could be stuck with players, Chris. We're saying, have to sell to buy. We might be struggling to sell the players. Sorry?
But like you said, selling isn't ever guaranteed, especially in this kind of scenario.
Same with Yarmolenko. I mean, Yarmolenko's on big money. We might be able to get some offers for Yarmolenko, but when people offer him contracts, he might balk at it as well. He might not be able to agree terms with another club simply because they're just not going to get anywhere near the wages that we're giving him. So, it's going to be difficult to ship out the players that Moyes wants shipped out. I think we'll be able to sell Balbuena. He's not on big money, and I think he's still young enough and good enough that there will be some teams that will pay a few million for him. So we could get value for money there, and we paid very little. I think 4 million for him. So he's the kind of player we can sell. But again, it's not going to be a whole pile of money. It's not going to do that much for us. I just don't know if we're going to be able to clear the decks, as it were. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because you just have to hope there are some sucker clubs out there just going to come in and stump up the cash.
Yeah, and really quickly before I make my point, I got to give a shout out to Foshizi real quick, who's now in the chat, just because during our last post-match live stream when we were announcing this show, he was the one who suggested the name Trading Irons, which is now the official name of the show. So appreciate that, brother. But for me, Yarmolenko is, I think, similar to your Lanzini. I would not be bothered if Yarmolenko did not get sold. I think that he's a great impact sub. Yes, he doesn't have as much pace, but he's gotten goals off the bench in this, like, critical goals since the restart, or after the restart, coming off the bench.
winner against Chelsea, equalizer against Villa.
Yeah. So I mean, I would be more than fine. He's the kind of player that I think we need on the bench as well, like that impact, who can make that substantial difference if you need it. So I'm more than fine in keeping him around. But
yeah, listen, I've had this conversation on Twitter with people who keep rattling on about big wages, and I want to clear everyone out who's earning any kind of good money. And these are the same people when we're struggling in the game next season and they look to the bench and there's fuck all there as regards talent and ability, just all kind of cheap kind of subs who aren't going to come in and impact the game whatsoever. They're the ones who are going to be complaining that our bench is too weak. It's all right saying, oh, he's on big money, clear him out, but they get fixated on the wages. It's like, we're a Premier League club, we've got lots of money. Our wage structure is under control. It's not gotten out of hand. That was taken care of last summer. The wages, we got rid of a lot of high earners. So our wage structure is under control. We have to have some talent on the bench. Okay, Yarmolenko is on 120 a week, whatever it is. But he makes a difference when he comes off the bench. And we have to have players on the bench that can come in and do something. And he's one of them. If we get rid of everybody off there with any talent just to bring in low-wage players, you end up with a bench that can do nothing for you. Moyes turns around when he needs something and looks at the bench and thinks, and he's reluctant enough to make subs as it is.
Yeah.
He turns around and looks at his bench and thinks, Christ, there's nothing there. Just keep going as we are, So we need impact players on the bench. And if there's a couple of them on there that are big earners, so be it. But Yarmolenko, for me, is a player who comes off the bench and makes a difference.
Yeah. And to answer Forever Blowing Bubbles' question, would Yarmolenko want to stay as a sub? He's getting to that.
For 120K a week at 30, 31, yes, he does.
Yes. You put it, and then on top of that, he's on the downhill of his career. He's proven that he can play in that kind of impact role. So I think that if I'm him, take that with, like you said, the wage that he's on. Absolutely, I'd stay. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can guarantee you Yarmolenko isn't unhappy.
Yeah. But obviously, when we're talking about the outs here, before we get into the ins rumors, so to speak, there is one that we've already discussed extensively, but it's going to be the headline for West Ham all summer, and that is obviously Declan Rice. So, obviously, there was rumors spreading yet again that he's already demanded a transfer, that Chelsea have come in. X has already put those rumors to bed, for the moment at least. But I just can't help but thinking, like, is it coming or is it not?
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, him leaving. I don't think him leaving this summer is happening. I think we'll have him at least one more season. I know I think we got into this before, Chris. Was it the last show we did where we spoke about this, and I give my reasons why I think it just might be this summer. Might just be we keep him by default. It's not that there's no interest in him. But like I said, the two teams that were most strongly linked with him were Chelsea and Man United. Now, Man United have just given Matic a 3-year deal, and they have McTominay. So I think United have other priorities outside of DM.
And Chelsea does not have the wage or the budget at the moment. That's what
Chelsea don't. Chelsea are not going to have the money. Chelsea possibly will come in with a bid, but it will be derisory. I think they'll offer like 20 million in cash and like 3 players. Ross Barkley and some other. Yeah, and Batshuayi, and they'll offer some. I think there was talk of they might maybe give us Tomori on loan for a couple of seasons or something like that. But no, I'm giving the club the benefit of the doubt that they would just hang up the phone. Because that's a ridiculous offer that should never even be considered.
No.
We should be demanding whatever it is, whether it's 80 million or 90 million, whatever it is we're looking for. We should be demanding that straight up cash, or else don't call back. We don't want your players. We have our own targets that we're interested in, and your players aren't included in that list. We don't need Ross Barkley. We don't want him. We don't want Batshuayi. He couldn't hit a barn door. So I would poo-poo that, and I'm convinced. If you look at who Chelsea have taken already, Havertz is the latest player. They've got Timo Werner who's coming in, and Ziyech is coming in. They're not cheap players. I don't think Chelsea have got the cash to stump up for Declan Rice.
No.
And unless there's some team comes out of the blue with a big offer for him, which I don't expect to happen, then I think Declan's going to be starting for us in the first game of the new season. So, and I think we'll have him until next summer. Next summer might be a different kettle of fish. We might be in more danger of losing him next summer, but this summer I'm actually quite confident that he's going to be a West Ham player next season.
Really quickly before I address anything else, Forever Blowing Bubbles, I actually have seen rumors as well as Jesse Lingard. I've seen about 6 between or a combination of 6 or so youth and former or bench players from Man United being rumored with us. There's a few. Apparently,
Diogo Dalot as well, the right back, has been rumored.
there's legs to that one according to X. So that one's the potential, and I believe he plays left back. So, but with regards to Declan, I just don't see it happening. One thing that I had said with earlier in one of our post-match streams was, for me, I don't want the players that Chelsea don't want. For me, it's kind of, I'd almost say borderline disrespectful, in my opinion, if I'm one of the board members of West Ham and Chelsea come in and say, "Oh, we're going to give you 3 players who played a combined total of 6 matches last season because we don't like them." Or we don't like them, we don't like their quality, we don't think that they're for us. So you're kind of coming at us saying, we want your good player and we'll give you our bad players. That's kind of,
well, I think,
it's looking
I
down.
think it's,
so for me,
well, I think, no, I would be crazy to do it, but I think it's the only hand they have to play.
Yeah, and then there's also an argument to be made alongside that. If I go to my Excel sheet here with the ins, I'm looking at least 3 or 4 Bournemouth players, 1 Watford player that we're being linked with. And in a similar regard, I don't know how I feel about bringing that many players in from clubs that had just been relegated. Yes, they may be good on their own, but they weren't able to help their clubs per se stay enough to stay up. So if we end up just continually buying players from the relegated sides every year, we're going to end up turning into these kind of same teams, and we're going to stay in this perpetual cycle of narrowly avoiding relegation. So for me, I'm fine with 1 or 2 players, but I don't want a whole squad of former relegated players.
Yeah, I'm not as hung up on that. I just judge it by the individual player, to be honest. I would happily take either of Norwich's fullbacks. Happily,
and that's fair.
They're both excellent young players. Buendia looks a quality player. I know as a team, as a whole, they didn't have enough quality to stay up. But with any team that goes down, there's always going to be a couple of players in there that are actually very, very good. And if you surround them with better players, that they'll be really good. I mean, it looks like Nathan Ake may be going to Man City. The Bournemouth centre back. Yeah. So, I mean, let's be honest. If it came out that Nathan Ake was on his way to West Ham for a medical, I mean, we'd be delighted with that. I mean, despite the fact he's a centre back in a relegated team, I mean, Ake is a really quality centre back. So I wouldn't be as worried about that as long as we were taking the right players from those clubs. Todd Cantwell, if we were taking a chance, if it wasn't Eze and it turned out we were signing Todd Cantwell, from Norwich, I'd be excited about that. Cantwell looks like he's got a lot of skill and flair, and he looks a really good player. So I wouldn't worry too much. Every team that goes down, generally, there might be the odd exception, but generally teams that go down still have 2 or 3 really good players in that team. They just didn't have enough of them. But
or in the right
I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, and I guess that's a fair assessment as well. And we can touch on this a little bit about the Matty Longstaff rumors. So one of the things that was covered in the transfer section of X's podcast is the fact that because there's so few funds in the budget at the moment, regardless of if we sell players or not, we're going to be looking on players that are on free transfers for the Matty Longstaff. So I cannot attest too much. I haven't watched him enough to really say if he's any good or not. Maybe he's a kind of a depth player, but I don't know if you have any more insight on him or not.
Yeah, well, what I did see of him, he looked a very tidy young player. He looked like a player with potential. I wasn't aware he was available on a free transfer. I'm actually really surprised Newcastle have decided not to give him a contract, but I don't know what the reasoning is there. But I would have thought talent-wise they would have been willing to give him another contract. But yeah, Matty Longstaff. I mean, look, if it's a free transfer, he's young and he does
Yeah.
have some talent, and I'd be okay with it. As a young player with some talent, if it doesn't work out, I mean, he's not going to be on big money, so if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I definitely don't think he's a bad player. But no, I haven't seen a whole lot of him, but I have seen a bit. He looked to me like a promising young player, and obviously unproven as yet, but looked to me like he had the potential to be a very good player going forward. So yeah, that would be an interesting one. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's a no lose kind of deal, really. I mean,
see, and yeah, for me, like with not having too much or too vast of knowledge outside of West Ham per se, I will say though that any player that comes in, I will, even if I have never seen a minute of footage on them, I'll always support them. I always hope that they do well. So if we were to bring in Matty Longstaff, I'd still be somewhat excited, just because obviously the club thinks that he can do the job. So I think that's kind of like where my philosophy with all of it is. So
yeah, I mean, his older brother plays for Newcastle already. He's in the first team. Very, very good player, Sean Longstaff. I don't know if you remember there was all that talk, like last season, I think it was about, Newcastle fans were going on about how Sean Longstaff was better than Declan Rice and all that. And then if you remember in our home game with Newcastle, Declan Rice scored with a header and then was giving it all that to the Newcastle fans. And so Matty is his younger brother. He has made a few appearances for Newcastle, and looks like a promising little player. I think if he's on a free transfer and low wages, there's no harm in trying. Give him a shot and see how he does. He does look like he has some ability.
Yeah, and then some of the others, I've seen a lot of free transfer rumors, rumors for players on a free. This Malang Sarr, I'm probably butchering that, defender from Nice, X, and I've also seen it on Claret and Hugh, have both been reporting on it. However, Arsenal also have interest, so I cannot really attest to how well or how good he is. So
never heard of him. There's going to be lots of these, by the way. Going to be lots of these players we've never heard of. We know nothing about them. So really can't say one way or another if these guys are any good. I've never seen him play. I haven't got a clue who he is.
One player, actually switching back real quick to the outs, like the kind of rumors that I've been seeing a little bit too, and it's actually kind of miraculous. I want to get your take on it too. Is actually Roberto is potentially drawing interest from Atletico de Madrid.
Yeah, it's he just loved life. It's the man. I don't know. The man's stealing a living. I don't know. He's like, how's he doing this?
I honestly could not tell you.
Is Hugh Salas at Atletico now or what?
I wouldn't surprise me. I want to.
Did Hugh Salas go to Atletico?
Very well could have. Like by it.
Other than that, other than that, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Nobody at Atletico must watch Premier League football.
I'm trying to find some stats real quick on Roberto since he's been at Alaves.
Alaves.
Yeah, I cannot pronounce that for some reason. Yeah, they're saying that he's worth about 880,000, and let's see here, La Liga. Okay. Good God, he was worse at Alaves than he was at West Ham. He had made 9 appearances, conceded 19, but had 2 clean sheets and a yellow card. And at West Ham, 8 appearances, 17 goals, 0 clean sheets. And somehow he's
Atletico. I mean, sorry, I'm at a loss.
I really am too.
If they give us 800k for him, like seriously,
Yeah. And as Forever Bubbles says, he must have a phenomenal agent. I just don't understand it.
his agent's phone must be off the fucking hook with players saying, "Listen, man, I'd love you to be my agent."
Now, scrolling through the comments, Kieran just said this. This is a rumor I was not aware of, so this is new to me. Apparently, Arnautovic was talking with Moyes yesterday. And so I've also now Kuyate has been in contact with Moyes. So, and Moyes might want him back. So,
Okay, I don't know if Kieran is trolling or if he is getting this somewhere else, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I think there's too much water under the bridge now. A lot has changed since Moyes was here last. I know Arnautovic did very well for him, but I don't see it. Just because he was talking to him doesn't really necessarily mean anything either. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
people often keep in touch, after. So I don't think Arnie's coming back.
he made it up. Damn it.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn you, Kieran. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna
but
say, Arnautovic is 31 years old. I wouldn't. I
yeah.
doesn't fit the philosophy. Wouldn't even be a rotational player. So,
Kieran should work for a tabloid newspaper
yeah, I
in the
mean,
sports
yeah,
section.
really
He'd be
what.
perfect.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean,
you see, he made it up, but at least he made up a plausible one because
yeah.
he did brilliantly for Moyes last time he was there. So at least he made it somewhat believable. But yeah, no, the Kuyate one as well is no, that's not happening.
The Chianti one I've actually seen. I thought I heard from, if I remember, X.
Yeah, someone put it out there, but I don't see it.
I don't see it. I don't see it as likely either. Again, he doesn't fit into the kind of philosophy of the younger player. He doesn't. He
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily be a rotational player. It'd almost be for nostalgia's sake. So at that point, I wouldn't waste the money on it.
No, again, nothing happening there. That's not happening.
So let me dive into my list here as well. This one, I don't remember where I saw it from, but I remember where I saw it. It was on. Do you have the One Football app?
No.
Oh, well, it compiles a lot of news, transfer rumors, scores, all of that, and you can like customize it to your team, so it'll give you notifications on it. And this one popped up for me. This one was a rumor that actually occurred in January, but never amounted to anything. I don't think it was really true. So I think it still falls in line with it here. But apparently we could be interested in Luka Jovic on loan, striker from Real Madrid, Alaire's former teammate at Frankfurt. So I want to get your take on that. I haven't watched any footage of him, but I thought that was an interesting rumor.
Interesting rumor, but again, it has doesn't really pass the smell test for me. Again, it seems like one of those lazy rumors because Haller is here. Jovic didn't have a good season at Real. They might be willing to loan him. Therefore, West Ham. I would say he's more likely to rejoin his old boss at Monaco if he's going to go anywhere.
Possibility.
That would seem much more likely.
Yeah, and that was one of the rumors for the outs as well, is that Niko Kovac now at AS Monaco is interested in reuniting with Allaire. But this week's show as well, X said that there's no intentions at this moment to sell him.
No, Heller's not going anywhere. He posted.
I love this. Casually doing a better One Football shout out than he did on their last stream. They were sponsored. That's great. I love the One Football app. It just is easy use for me. So
They need to start sponsoring us and ditch Charlie. He's not doing them justice.
hey,
We'll show them. We'll show them the love on this show. Don't worry about that.
yeah, but yeah,
No, Hilaire's not going anywhere. He posted
I
on
was gonna
Instagram a few hours ago where and he basically said, we'll hopefully bigger and better things next season. So
yeah, and I like that mentality. He knows that he did not live up to what his expectations were. His, transfer fee kind of warranted. So he's trying to let the fans know that he's saying that this was a one-off season and he'll be back and better than ever next season. Which, for all intents and purposes, I hope it's true. I hope he's the 45 million pound player that we paid for. So,
yeah. Well, we all hope, but that's good to hear at least. Regardless of how next season goes for him, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly, that's the kind of noises you would like to hear from him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
okay, I'm going to have to address Charlie here because he's doing his recall Big George. That's entirely possible. Moyes did sign him originally, but we'll have to wait and see. If Moyes is obviously very serious about trying to get Eze in the door, and there's no doubt that Moyes will be offering Hugill as a part exchange. So he may end up staying at QPR, but it wouldn't surprise me if he brought him back either. So
yeah,
we'll see how that. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
I believe Hugo did well at QPR. I think he was in double digits in terms of goal scoring. So, I mean, if he is a backup player, I think that he's kind of like an Ajeti, in my opinion, in that he didn't really get an opportunity to prove himself. And that's one thing that I hate about the Ayeti rumors, because he was given less than 45 total minutes this season, and we're just slating him as if he's one of the worst players we've ever had. We've never seen him
Yeah,
really play.
no, I literally cannot judge Ajeti. We just haven't seen nearly enough of him to know if he's very good or mediocre or very bad. We just don't know. But look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If the manager doesn't fancy him, that's it.
Yeah.
It's over for him.
To be honest, it was that way with Pellegrini and Moyes. So something he did obviously had to have happened, that two successive managers did not see the potential in him and did not give him game time.
Well, he seemed perfectly capable of scoring for Switzerland in international games and perfectly capable of scoring for Basel in the Champions League. There are still clubs, I'll guarantee you, that still think he's got something and who will definitely come in for him if we're letting him go. I think there will be a few teams that will be interested. Possibly even Bilic could come in for him, bring him to the Hawthorns, because I think Bilic likes him actually. So
and it seems like
that wouldn't surprise me.
Been able to get the best out of Diangana, so maybe loan him Ayeti out for a season and see what he can do there, and then kind of decide. That's why I'm fine with a loan out, like with a loan move, just to get his confidence back up, see what he's capable of. But I mean, if he does show promise, I don't like the idea of he plays once and then you have to buy him, or something along those lines, like apparently we were offering with Celtic. So,
sure, but I think that's fine if the manager is like, I want to see what I've got here, but I don't think Moyes does. I don't think Moyes rates him. I think he just wants to sell him, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and as Top Lad here says, Hugo scored 15 this season, yet the rumors are him going for around 5 million, which make no sense.
No, that would
him in for 7-8 million on deadline day, and like I said, under sketchy circumstances with Moyes' brother being his agent. So
he's got to be worth a Hugo.
Yeah.
9-10 million. Surely we can squeeze 9-10 million out of somebody for a 15 goal scorer in the championship.
Yeah, and if he can be packaged in a way to help us get Eze, all the better. I mean, it'd save us a little bit on the cost, both from Hugo's
Yeah.
wage and the transfer fee for Eze. But if for some reason we aren't able to, provides decent coverage at a striker. Probably he'd end up, if we sign another player, he'd probably fall to third or fourth and play primarily in like cup matches. But it's rotation nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he was to come back to West Ham, he would basically just take Ajeti's place on the bench. He would be that for us next season. You know, he'd be a backup. Um, but actually, we need to talk about this Eze situation. Actually, Chris, we haven't really gotten into it.
Yeah, fair.
This whole thing, because obviously Palace have shown a lot of interest. How far advanced that interest is at the moment, we don't know.
Conflicting reports. Some say there was a transfer fee agreed to. Others are saying it's too early to tell, and so
yeah, I don't know where that's at. If Palace have really come in for him with a solid bid or what, I don't know. But obviously, what X was saying is that Moyes has spoken to him and said, "Look, I want you at West Ham, but we don't have the money right now. So if you can just wait for us, don't sign for anyone else, and just wait, and we'll come back for you when we've got the money." It's just a bizarre way to do business. If you think of it from Eze's point of view, right? I'm sure he's absolutely desperate to play in the Premier League. He would love a move to a Premier League team, especially one that's kind of established in the Premier League. Ourselves and Palace have been in the Premier League for a few seasons on the bounce now, so we're established Premier League teams. I'm sure he'd love to join one and make that step up. Now, if you put him in this situation where you've got West Ham saying, "Look, don't sign for Palace or anyone else, and we'll come back for you later and we'll buy you." If I'm him, I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm just not. Now, if we come in for him and Palace come in for him, he probably chooses us the same way Jared Bowen did, right? He probably says, "Okay, I'm going to go to West Ham instead of Palace." We probably beat Palace to his signature the same way we did with Bowen. But if you think of it from Eze's point of view, you're on a promise from West Ham, "We'll come back for you," right? And then Palace come in and agree a fee with QPR for you, and they want to talk contract with you. Now, are you really going to say, "No, sorry, can't do it. I'm waiting on West Ham. They said they'll be back." This is his chance to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
There's a team with a contract offer ready for him, ready to talk money, ready to sign him, fee agreed with the club. This is his chance to go and play in the Premier League. If I'm him, I sign that contract and I go and I play for Crystal Palace. Because what happens? What does he do if he says, "No, sorry, I'm waiting for West Ham to come back. They said they'll be back. I'd rather play for West Ham, so I'm okay for now, thanks." And then West Ham don't come back because we can't bloody sell anyone, and we don't have the money. He's stuck in the Championship next season with QPR going, "Oh, for Christ's sake, what have I done?
Yeah.
Should have just signed for Palace." So that's number one.
Yeah. I will say, though, with regards to the whole budgetary thing, X was actually, do you listen to the podcast?
I do, but I haven't had a chance to yet.
So what X was reporting on this week with regards to Eze is that he is basically our top non-defense target. Moyes is really keen to kind of settle out the defense, but apparently we have the ability to set aside funds to immediately go in for Eze if need be. We're wanting to sell players first to kind of bolster the war chest, so to speak, to get Eze and any other player we would like in. But if it comes urgent, then we are able to set aside the fund. Like, we are able to kind of draw from almost like an emergency fund like that.
Yeah, well, that's actually the thing I was going to get to next. Is that this whole thing it is crazy because, look, if that's Moyes' target and he wants him, you just go get him now. Sullivan is a billionaire. Gold is a multi-millionaire. 20 million is not a big deal, and it's only temporary, right? It's not like they'll never get it back. They'll get their 20 million back. Stump the money up, or however much it costs. It might not even be 20. We could get him for less. I mean, especially if they will take Hugel. You can do Hugel plus money. So the money's always there. Yeah, Rebecca's absolutely right. This thing that we have no money is ridiculous. The
And,
money's
and,
there.
and
Stump
that's
up the cash. Go get the players Moyes needs, and then you can start trying to flog players if you want to make some of it back or all of it back, whatever the case may be. But just
it,
go get the players. Listen, the thing
it's
here, Chris, is we're under more pressure in this window because the players have got 3 weeks off. They've had one, right? So 2 more weeks, and they're back in pre-season training.
yep.
And we're going to faff about. Our first game of the new season is going to be coming up, and we're still going to be faffing about over money, talking about, oh, we want these players, but we can't get them. We haven't got the money. And you know, the pre-season's well underway. Players are getting almost ready for their first game of the new season, and we're still arsing about. Go and get the players in now, so that those players are West Ham players when everyone goes back for pre-season training in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's no adjustment period that they can get in with the team. You know where the squad sits going into the season rather than leaving it up to last minute.
Yeah, you've got to get them in with everybody else for pre-season training.
There was a tweet that I saw today, and it's so true. In this comment from Scott, no staff, no infrastructure. It's completely true. The likes of the big clubs like City and all that, they know their targets. I guarantee you, Pep Guardiola had Ake on his radar, regardless if Bournemouth went down or not, months ago. And
Yeah.
the minute that the window opens, they're on the phone saying, "We'll give you 40 million for him." We get into the window and we're like, let's see about this player, maybe this player. There's no immediate targets. We need to be, if we want to have that kind of ambition, we have to know our targets weeks and months in advance. And then once it gets to the window, then we can just pick up the phone right away.
I suspect Moyes does. I think Sullivan already knows. I'm sure Moyes has told him, look, these are the players I would like to bring in. And then he's basically left it now with Sullivan, and it's up to Sullivan to go get Ake, go get Eze, go get, say, Robinson or whoever it is. He knows the players. I'm sure David Moyes knows who he wants and has told Sullivan. But Sullivan's faffing about, talking about, there's no money, there's no money. Yeah, there is money. You can figure these things out. You know what I mean? You can sell players later. You can budget forward. You know, you can work the numbers. Just get on it, get them signed, get them in, and make sure that when the team come back for their first training session for pre-season, and job done. And you know, we'll work the finances out.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It is frustrating to a very large degree, just because
I think Sullivan is worried he can't sell players. I think he's worried they're not going to be able to sell Anderson or Lanzini or Wilshere or anyone. I think he's worried that they're not going to be able to bring much cash in.
Yeah, and that's the big concern. And obviously, this is going to be an ongoing. Obviously, this is going to be an ongoing kind of discussion with a relatively short window. Obviously. 6 weeks, I believe it is now, or so. So,
yeah. But listen, the rumor is that Anthony Robinson is a left back that Moyes would like to bring in.
Yeah,
Wigan has just been relegated to League One. How much could he fucking cost?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How much could Anthony Robinson really cost? It's not much. Surely they can go get Robinson, get the left back that Moyes wants.
Yeah, we're also interested. Moyes has apparently been watching both Anthony Robinson and QPR's Ryan Manning. So,
yeah,
I mean, the targets.
So,
Moyes has the targets. The board
but
just don't.
the thing is that they're gettable. They're gettable targets. Do you know what I mean? He's not looking for, Moyes hasn't just gone out and said, right, I want this player and that player, and they cost 40 million each.
It's not like
These
he's
are
going to say, I want to buy Messi right now.
Wigan are in shit financially. Anthony Robinson would cost peanuts. If that's who Moyes wants, go get him. What are you waiting on?
Yeah. I agree.
Wigan are desperate for the cash. If Wigan got 1.5 million for Robinson, they'd probably take it.
Yeah.
1.5 million, maybe 2 million. They'd say, yeah, fuck it, we have to take it. They're in dire straits. I mean, take advantage of it. You know what I mean? Go get Robinson. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, these obviously will all just keep developing, all of these rumors. One thing I'm going to do too, like I said at the beginning of this show, it seems like every year we are just linked with everyone under the sun. So I'm going to actually do a concert or like have a effort this season to see how many players we are individually linked with. So if there's like 6 rumors linking us with one player, I'm only going to count it as one. I'm curious to see at the end of this transfer window how many individual players we are linked with. And after each show, or at the end of each show, I'll give an update on how many rumors I've seen on individual players. So as of today, we are now up to 21 rumors in already, less than a week into the transfer window, with 11 rumors of players going out. So
yeah, we're going to have to we're going to have to filter them because look, most of them are non-starters. We don't even need to talk about. You can just ignore them. They're silly. Yeah. It's not happening. So we need to filter because we can't sit here and talk about 21 different players who might come in.
And that's what you can choose. But I'm curious to see how many we actually get linked with in total. I'm curious if by the end of the window, when the door finally closes shut, how many it's going to be. If after the first not even week they're at 21 already.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Chris. We better not be in the same situation we're in now this time next week, because.
Really quickly to answer Forever Glowing Bubbles' question, it's honestly I'm just looking on whether I see it from Twitter, from like X, or different sources that are coming from Sky or BBC or the
Sam Ingersoll is worth keeping an eye on as well.
Yeah. I'm even going down to the Sun. I'm just kind of curious and seeing what they're saying. But other than that, I'm just typing in the Google search bar West Ham transfer rumors. There's one website, I believe it's called News Now, that actually will show like all different websites that are all British. It'll indicate if it's British tabloid, if it's American. I've seen Irish, French, Russian, stuff like that. So that's where I'm kind of getting these. And like I said, it's going to be an individual player. If I see 6 different websites, and then X says about it too, that's still just going to be one, because at that point it's just going to be too many.
Well, it's just, I mean, the point of it is how many players we're linked with. It doesn't matter how many people link us with them. It's still one player.
A top lad, yes, it shows them, but it usually doesn't show the actual like source per se. It'll just give like it'll just say Sky, like source Sky Sports, but it won't actually show what it's saying. It won't show the feed. That's why I didn't talk about One Football there, though they are a great app.
Yeah, and don't forget the One Football app, the best football app in the world if you want to get all your transfer information.
Absolutely. We're now, even though we haven't been contacted, we're now sponsored by them, apparently.
I am shamelessly whoring myself out to the One Football app.
He doesn't even have it on his phone. But mate, I will see you back here next Friday, unless there's some imminent news.
Well, we better have something, Chris. I mean, we're back in pre-season in a couple of weeks. So, like I said, if we're going to get players in, we've got to crack on now. I mean, I'm not interested in this. We've got no money business. We can get the players Moyes wants without breaking the bank. Like you were saying, let's say he really likes Manning and Eze. They're both QPR players. Hugo spent the season there, scored 15 goals. Surely a deal could be done. Surely a deal could be done for Manning and Eze with Jordan Hugill. I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm really sorry. With Jordan Hugill signing permanently for QPR, and we give them a certain amount of money. You can even structure the deal where they get a certain amount of money now, and then there's more money after a certain amount of time. Or Sullivan loves those deals. It's what he lives on. So don't tell me a deal can't be done, and we're saying we've got no money, we have to sell. That's just pathetic.
But listen, mate, I think this was a very good jumping off point for the new show, Trading Irons. Appreciate it, all positive response so far. It seems like everyone's enjoying it. Thank you, everyone, for joining the chat, as always. And like I said, unless there's an imminent arrival or an imminent departure, we will be right back here next Friday. But until then, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you one football app.